The point that it seems like there aren't any left except for us, Poppy, Kissy, and the prototype. But how many toys have we actually killed? To figure this out, we're gonna break it down chapter by chapter, counting every kill along the way, then total them all up at the end of the video. Looking all the way back to chapter 1, there were actually no deaths. We only come across one toy, which is Huggy Wuggy, but he doesn't end up dying as we see him in the very end of chapter 4. However, we do seriously bust this man up as he hit the back of his head right on some metal and even knocked out some of his teeth on the way down. But looking at chapter 2, we actually killed a few toys, or maybe not, it depends on how you see it, because in chapter 2, we're forced by Mommy Longlegs to play a series of 3 different games: Musical Memory, Whack-A-Wuggy, and Statues. But in each of these games were living toys that were trying to kill us. In Musical Memory, it was Bunzo, in Whack-A-Wuggy, it was the Wuggies, and in Statues, it was PJ Pugapillar. After beating Musical Memory, Bunzo was killed by Mommy Longlegs. And in Whack-A-Wuggy, the Wuggies were also killed after beating the game. But interestingly, PJ wasn't killed after we beat Statues, which could be because Mommy didn't care or forgot, or because of the fact that PJ can run at Mach 4, bro. But the one character that we do kill was in the end of the game, where Mommy Longlegs plays a game of hide and seek with us, and after losing twice, she eventually just tries to kill us with everything she has, but ends up getting crushed in a grinder and taken away by the prototype, which brings our total kill count to 1. But now let's talk about chapter 3. In the very beginning of the game, we're taken by Catnap and put into a garbage compactor, but because we escape, we eventually see the events of chapter 3 unfold, where we first go into Home Sweet Home. But in a hallucination, this nightmarish version of Huggy eats us, and we end up waking up inside of another part of Home Sweet Home, meaning technically we died, but not really. It's like dying in a dream when you can't run properly. But after Home Sweet Home, we eventually make it to the school, where we see a whole bunch more deaths. The first being Miss Delight, who tries to warn us to leave the school multiple times, but because we're stupid, we don't.
Barb says you're looking for your co-workers. Catnap wouldn't like that you're here. You should leave. For your own safety.
But because of that, we're then brought into a chase with Miss Delight constantly following us, and we have to solve puzzles all while making sure we look at her enough to where she can't reach us. And when we finally make it to the very end, Miss Delight just stops caring about the fact that we're looking at her and runs at us, which is where we then take a gate and shut it down right on her bottom jaw, killing her in the process. But going deeper into the school, we come across a bunch of mini smiling critters who we don't end up killing, but navigate around, all while trying to use the flare hand to scare them away. After this, we make it down to the school's prison where we meet Dog Day. We find him chained up with his lower half missing and a belt around his waist in order to keep his organs in place and prevent him from dying. But before we can help him, a whole bunch of mini smiling critters crawl into his cell and then into his body, where he becomes possessed by the smiling critters with new white glowing glowing eyes, and he tries to kill us. But he is technically still alive. It's just a possessed version of him. But in the end of chapter 3, we were led down the shortest chase in the world with a creepy, gray, withered version of Catnap trailing right behind us. We need a 12-gauge shotgun. But the real fight comes when we make it into a room where we have to fight off Catnap using our flare hand and some batteries in order to supercharge our green grab pack hand, which we then use to shock him, sending him to the ground. However, because the red smoke is flammable, when Catnap tries to knock us out or even kill us, the red smoke catches on fire, burning Catnap alive. But the fire didn't last long, and Catnap was back to normal pretty quickly, and we didn't end up killing him, but instead it was the prototype who appeared out of literally nowhere through a hole in the ceiling, and he kills Catnap by piercing right through the back of his head, which does keep our kill count at 2, because the only characters who we really ended up killing was Mommy Longlegs and Miss Delight. But now, going into chapter 4, and I promise there is more than one death this time, we have to first talk about Yarnaby. He was a dog-like animal that was loyal to Harley Sawyer all the way up until his death in chapter 4. We first see Yarnaby in some kind of observation room where he bangs on the glass but is unable to reach us. However, after the most infuriating puzzle I've ever had to deal with, we're led down a chase with Yarnaby right behind us, where we come to a ledge with a lava pit right underneath us. But using quick thinking, we grab the hook above it and swing to the other side. And using some not so quick thinking, Yarnaby decides to bite the hook, which made him fall into the pit of lava and burn alive, meaning he is 147.2% dead. Later in the game though, we eventually find what was our main goal, the doctor. And after an extremely easy puzzle, we come to where he was contained and take out the Omni chip, where for some reason he's killed and we see his brain do a literal pop shove it backflip with the power shutting off. But the thing is, he didn't always have the Omni hand, so as to why he died, I have no idea. Maybe we punched in some other command on the computer, but it doesn't seem like it. But after this, the prototype eventually tricked both us and Doughy to leave Safe Haven, which gave him the perfect opportunity to blow up and kill every single toy that was in there. And speaking of Doughy, he was the final death of the chapter. After Safe Haven blows up, Doughy's personalities fight each other, with 2 out of the 3 of them believing that we caused this atrocity. But he then turns into a giant lizard-like monster and tries to kill us. However, using the most conveniently placed drill, we pull it down on top of him, killing him, which brings our total kill count up to 5, with the deaths of Mommy Longlegs, Miss Delight, Yarnaby, Harley Sawyer, and Doughy. But we do get an option between saving and killing Simon Smoke in chapter 4, so depending on what your decision is, the total kill count could round up to 6. So in reality, although a lot of toys have died, we've actually only killed a handful of them. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video